Thanks everyone for taking some time to join us. At LSA, we spend a lot of time listening to the advisors about what actually makes their job easier and what doesn't. One thing we hear consistently is this: advisors don't need more data, more charts, or more disconnected tools. They need clarity, consistency, and confidence, especially when markets get complicated. That's what led to us, LSA, partnering with Koyfin. Koyfin brings institutional grade analytics to the table, and LSA's role is to translate the power into practical workflows, better portfolio conversations, and clear client communications. Today isn't about selling software to you. I want to be very clear on that. It's about showing you how better tools, when paired with the right framework, can help you grow your practice, manage your portfolios more effectively, and communicate with clients at a higher level. That is the value proposition that we are trying to bring to the table. So let's get started. We titled this presentation what's called From Data to Decisions. And the reason we did this is so that we could start to create a framework of the value proposition of what good analytics paired with good workflow conversations can have a massive impact on your practice. And we broke it down into three different pillars, starting with how do we grow, how do we manage, and how do we communicate. And if we simply take these three pillars as the core framework of the value proposition of what LSA plus Koyfin can do for us, then we can start to get into how we can solve, the issues that advisors are dealing with today. So in slide 3, we're talking about the advisor reality. Advisors today face three persistent challenges. Client portfolios are increasingly complex and difficult to evaluate. How many of you have had a portfolio or a statement that has come across that is riddled with 500 stock names, or is riddled with certain securities that are difficult to kind of get a line of sight on? How many of you have started to struggle a little bit with consolidating these portfolios through a lens that allows us to really get a full comprehension of how that portfolio behaves? That's number one. Number two, technology stacks are fragmented. What we often find is there's a significant amount of inefficiencies and blind spots as you're trying to piece, these tech stacks together across your business model or across your practice on a daily basis. And then client expectations for clear, confident communications continue to rise. What's wild is I remember starting this business back in 2005. Even in 2005, we were worlds ahead of the amount of information that was readily available to the average advisor, and as well as the investors that were out there. Today, you can't take a step out of your get out of bed without having 15 alerts that are telling you all about what's going on in the world and the markets today. So most advisors are not short on data. They're short on time. They're short on the clarity, and they're short on the consistency to be able to utilize that data in a more effective way. So why more data isn't the answer? Well, institutional grade data is widely available. Everyone on this call has access to a number of different platforms. The real challenge is turning that data into actionable portfolio insights, repeatable business workflows, and clear client-facing narratives. The edge no longer comes from having information, it comes from using it well. So to introduce our new relationship, we have brought Matt into our studios today. And I did not mean to leave him on the sidelines while we're doing this massive long introduction, but Matt Johnson is the Senior Account Executive with Koyfin. Matt and I were met about, 8 months ago, 12 months ago. And we started having a conversation around the impact of Koyfin, and what we kind of worked ourselves into was a very unique relationship that ties LSA and Koyfin at the hip. So first of all, Matt, thanks for joining us on the call today. Maybe a little bit of your backdrop and what you want to share with the advisors that are listening to the program today.
Yeah, so happy that I could join today. Thanks for having me. A little bit about me. I actually worked in the wealth management industry for several years, worked on a couple of different teams, and I was a Koyfin user myself. And so we can get into that story if we need to today, but that's really how I found it. And so now, long story short, I'm on the other side of the fence, helping advisors to grow their practice, helping them to deliver more value to their clients. And this partnership was something that I had some ideas about, and really just reach out to you, Brad, and we got the ball rolling. So happy to be here.
Yeah, same here. And especially when you start thinking about what the power of the partnership looks like, it's the idea that, LSA has partnered with Koyfin to bridge this gap between raw market data and real advisory decisions. That is the biggest one to me. I mean, how many of us have nonstop tools, or we go to the big Schwab event or conference of the year, and we see all the shiny, widgets and tools that are available to us out there. And most often we have a tendency to pick one up, but it sits on a shelf. We don't really figure out how to utilize or get the full impact out of some of these tools that we're bringing into our practices. That's where LSA wants to kind of step in and outline a series of workflows that allow advisors to take advantage of this institutional data that Koyfin has so uniquely been able to harness so that we can get information around markets, around portfolios. So Koyfin delivers powerful institutional quality analytics. LSA layers the advisor-focused frameworks, workflows, and communication tools. Together, we're going to help advisors move from analysis to action. In my world as an analyst over all of these years, we often refer to it as paralysis by analysis, where we have a tendency to overlook at data, over analyze every little situation, and rightfully so. I mean, we're dealing with retirement dollars, we're dealing with the livelihoods of clients and decisions that have meaning, and so what we want to do is make sure that we're giving the proper amount of attention to the role that we're playing within that process. And more importantly, as we look forward to what Koyfin does best in this relationship, well, I don't know that it's necessarily me that needs to share that story. Matt, why don't you jump in?
Yeah. So Koyfin was founded a little bit over 9 years ago. We've been around for a while now, and really what we do is we provide that analytics platform for advisors for a number of reasons. So first and foremost, helping you to be able to analyze your portfolios, analyze securities that maybe some of your clients have. And, for instance, if they have a legacy position, we want you to stay in tune with everything that's going on with that legacy position as we figure out how to diversify it. Could be a great example. Maybe we're looking at the portfolios that they have and understanding the asset allocations. Maybe we're comparing some of those holdings to benchmarks and some of their peers, but we're also integrating as well. So we're going to integrate with their custodial data so that you can look at everything in the consolidated view. We talk to advisors that are using fragmented workflows. They might be pulling from one tool, they might be going to a different tab and then using an Excel file all in one. Today, we're going to be able to take that all to one place so that you have one place to operate from and save some time from that point. But again, the basis and the foundation of what we do is all from the market data. And so you're going to be able to monitor the markets. You're going to be able to understand what's happening from a macro point of view, understanding what's happening in the economy, and then also tailor that, helping your clients understand how does that affect them? How does that impact their individual situation when it comes to their portfolio risk? So, like you said, we're really the analytical engine behind the partnership. We want to be able to provide the data, but it doesn't help anyone unless you're able to make actionable insights with it, right?
I think you nailed it. And then, so let's do this. Can we get a sneak peek behind the scenes of what does Koyfin look like? If I'm a user, we've built up this strong narrative of how data is there, and we're going to show you how to use the data properly. If I'm a user and log into Koyfin, what's the first view that I get? What does it look like? What am I harnessing from a technology perspective on a daily basis?
Yeah, so when you log in, this is what it's going to look like. You have several different market streams put together, but this is going to give you a glimpse into just what in the world is happening out there. Some people will even put this up on the big screen in their office so that their whole team can see it. Or if their clients are walking in, their clients are impressed by some of the data and they can have some conversation pieces right here.
Well, and it's funny, right? We did a little bit of a soft introduction to a handful of LSA advisors, and one of the things they said was, well, man, that's a lot of numbers and data, and that's what we use LSA for. And I think there's some truth in that, but what I want people to understand is there's a lot of things in motion, both economic markets around the globe, that you need to make sure that you have awareness of. And what this login screen does is it opens up the world to you in terms of what's actually happening on an ongoing basis. And it's a pretty unique, screen where it looks like there's tremendous amounts of data and information that's floating in front of you. And if you ask me, it's quite impressive for somebody that's looking from the outside of what kind of information are we actually trying to digest. So jumping back into our presentation, though, let's take the next step into what does LSA add? So LSA transforms this dashboard, these analytics, into advisor-ready intelligence by we're looking at providing pre-built portfolio review workflows, risk and allocation frameworks for advisors can explain, the client-ready market and economic narratives, templates that support consistency and compliance. So LSA ensures the tools are practical, repeatable, and client-facing. What we want to do is take, the uniqueness of that site and the power of the analytics and the data that we just shared with you, but set them in, real usable day-to-day workflows that are going to help you do one of those three things: grow your business, monitor your business, or help you communicate what's going on better. So let's start with pillar one, grow your business. And this is probably one of my favorite ones, because when we at LSA have always tried to help advisors and support the ability to run client comparisons or reviews and drill down into the numbers so that you have a competitive advantage. So use portfolio intelligence to win new clients. It's what we called this, right? It's the idea that does a prospective client that walks through your office, how do you take their existing strategy, stand it up against an LSA portfolio, or stand it up against on its own and try to poke holes so that you can step in and try to win some of that business. And as we do this, so we will be able to conduct portfolio reviews with clarity and confidence. We'll be able to identify concentration risks. So if you're dealing with maybe a 401k, or maybe you have a specialized case with a high net worth client and you need to be able to look across multiple accounts, can you do it from the household level and then identify risks within style drift or inefficiencies with maybe net exposures? We can also compare prospects' portfolios against, again, those benchmarks or best practices that are out there so that we can generate baselines. And just really what it all circles back to me, Matt, is we're trying to educate clients, right? And we're trying to give the advisors the tools so that they can, be empowered when they're stepping in and have high conviction and confidence in trying to win some of that new business. So this turns discovery meetings into value-driven conversations, not just product discussions. And I came from a world in the early 2000s where almost everything was driven off of products. Today, I think these discussions, to be able to separate, just show the power of the fiduciary role within the advisor community at this point. So in the next slide, we're talking about growth use cases and prospect portfolio reviews. Matt, I know you prepared a pretty interesting case here, so let me turn it over to you.
Yeah, and going back to your point just a moment ago, that is exactly right. They're coming to you for advice, right? And we want you to be able to explain to them what they're looking at in their portfolio today and how you're going to be able to help them. We want to lay out that story in front of them. And so a really quick example of how you could do that. Prospect comes in your door. What we can do is scan that PDF statement of their portfolio. Now, I used to be the guy, I used to punch in all the numbers. Here's what your holdings are. Here's how many. Here's all the different lots. We don't have to do that anymore. We just scan the PDF, so it saves you quite a bit of time and gets you that accurate data in there. Then you'll be able to compare apples to apples, what they're doing today versus what you would recommend maybe in that LSA portfolio model or whatever that might be. So we can analyze different things like their risks, their exposures, their allocations, and we can identify those opportunities to help them to understand, here's where we can win for you as a client, as we're giving you that advice.
So can we talk about that for just a second? Because this is one of the things that I kind of geeked out about when I saw Koyfin. The ability to scan a document and using, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but using AI technology to scrape a custodial platform statement and be able to build that portfolio directly inside your platform. That's what you're able to do, correct?
Yeah, so it's just using our technology that we've built and that we have inside of our system to be able to take that off of your plate. Again, I used to be the guy who'd take a couple hours to punch in that stuff, and now it happens.
A couple of hours. I think I have like 3 or 4 days worth of like literally 24-hour full days of inputting data like that over the last 20 years of my career.
Yeah.
And so what I hope people hear is that there's technology is finding its way into your platform that helps simplify the process of loading a comparison report and allows you the same level of power to be able to sell on the backside. So I didn't mean to step on your toes there, but
No.
man, I found that to be one of the most fascinating tools and steps that you guys have launched on your system.
Yeah, I'm glad you did. I mean, time is the most important resource for these advisors as they go about their day, as they
You nailed it.
schedule their days, right? And so if we can take that off their plate so that they can do different activities that are more value driven and actually talking to their clients, then the better. So what we did is we just prepared a quick example. Do you want me to go ahead and jump into
Let's
that
look at it.
example
Yeah.
here? Okay. So essentially what we would do is once we have those two portfolios, apples to apples, maybe the LSA model and then what the prospect is doing, it's going to create a custom report. Now, I included everything under the sun that we can do just to show you the example, but do know you can simplify this as much as you need to so that you're only showing the information that is important to you and to explain to your client. But I want to give you a high level view of what this proposal document could look like. So, put your logo in there, put your marketing in there, make it look sharp. You can add custom slides around your bio. You can add sort of slides to help you to educate as well. But what we will provide is a side-by-side on what the fund fees are, the advisor fees, the total fees, the yield. So helping them understand from the fees and income side, how are we stacking up side by side?
Can I jump in there for 2 seconds?
Please
Because
do.
this is actually addressing one of the weaknesses that we have on the LSA side of the website as well. All of our reports are really built always net of the mutual fund or ETF expense ratios or the sub-advisory expense ratios. They're not net of the advisory fees. And what I think advisors need to understand is LSA, we have 450 different advisors all across the country, and everyone has a slightly different fee structure. So the ability for us to go in there and assume a centralized advisory fee is going to work for everyone, it doesn't. What Koyfin allows us to do is load these models, load the portfolios in there, reflect and show a reflected advisory fee, which is part of the SEC's requirements now. If you're going to show comparison reports or portfolio level analytics, you need to make sure that you have a very good drill down into those advisory fees.
Yep, definitely. And it's going to break that down line by line, and we'll get into that a little bit deeper here in just a couple of moments here. But the other piece of that, what's important when we're talking to those prospects, understanding their risk tolerance, their time horizons, and so that we can make the proper advice. What does every client want? They want to minimize the downside and they want to maximize the upside, right? And so there's going to be a few different slides in here related to that risk in their portfolio, maybe tolerance, so we can show them what we're going to do for them as well. So as we get into it, we're going to be able to do a variety of things. Again, you can take any of these slides out that you don't need, but we're going to break down the holdings. We're going to show you the allocations, how they stack up side by side. We're also going to be able to show you over concentration risks. And so if I have a client who comes in or a prospect, and this is their 401k statement we've scanned, this is going to be a great slide to show them what that over concentration risk is. This is, I call it the X-ray, right? And so you can see here, for instance, Microsoft is actually held in 6 of those funds. They may not have realized that. And then it's going to show you what their overall weight is. And obviously this isn't too drastic, but that example that you're looking at might be quite different. And then which of those funds hold it. So that's a really good piece of that conversation to open their eyes to that over concentration risk.
And by the way, with the run up that we've seen within the Mag 7 over the last decade, if you're not aware of who is holding each one of those stock names and the total net exposure, I'm going to tell you, you're going to find yourself caught off guard if should we find a slip in the Mag 7 and we have a concentrated portfolio that all of a sudden experiences more drawdown than we expected. So this is a great way to drill down in a topic that is very upfront and present at the moment for advisors.
Definitely. And then just moving forward here, you can show how that would relate to the portfolio maybe that we're recommending, so we can compare those side by side. And then when it comes to exposures, you're going to be able to show things like the style blocks, the sectors, the regions, and then you can see those side by side. So, for instance, this portfolio, there's a pretty big difference here when it comes to the region exposure. If there's fixed income that's applicable in that portfolio, we're going to be able to show how that has exposed as well. And then a couple of different returns. I would say some advisors are going through this for compliance reasons. We're not necessarily going to show the returns. We want to make sure that those are the true performance. And sometimes if we're just scanning the statement, we're just showing their current holdings. And so a lot of times we'll take that out. But what is important when we come to the next slide here is this drawdown. And I mentioned how do we minimize that downside. This is going to show you side by side a benchmark, a different model portfolio, how that would have reacted in different model or different situations. depending on the length of time, they will show you different stress tests. If I have that back to 95, it's going to show me the .com and everything that's happened since then. How would that have reacted? And are you comfortable stomaching something like that if we were to put you into that portfolio? Or are you comfortable stomaching what you're in today, and maybe you just didn't realize what the implications of that are? So you have that both from a stress test point of view here, giving you raw examples, but then also just the graphic here as well to visualize that. Savings piece looks like I chose maybe a terrible example here, so that's my fault, Brad. But if we have a difference in fees, and again, that's going to break down the fund fees and the advisor fees. You're going to be able to explain that and show that what the differences will be, and then the total fees cumulative here as well. And I think maybe you want to chime in there.
Yeah, again, we have some limitations in how much we can show on the advisory fee side of things. And by the way, this is just for a proposal and ideas to get your minds wrapped around the depth of what you can see within the Koyfin platform. What's unique is LSA will start to curate these reviews, and we'll tailor them so that they look exactly like the portfolio reviews that we have on the LSA website, so that hopefully we can continue to generate the consistencies, but also give us the depth that we need to make sure that we're checking that compliance box, to make sure that we're showing real apples to apples from a full model experience, not just one that is net of maybe the investment expense ratios and not the advisor. So this is a unique step that helps us immensely as we look forward.
And then what you're going to do next is you can break down a variety of different metrics that are important for you. You can pick and choose. We don't want to glaze over any prospect's eyes, obviously, but you can pick and choose which of these are most important and show them so that we can articulate that story. Maybe if we have an engineer who's more analytical, we want to show as many as possible and really get into the weeds. Maybe if it's someone who just wants to stay high level, we can show them just the important metrics there. So being able to show those side by side is very helpful as you're explaining that. Your holdings breakdown is going to be available for you, and then a few other pieces. So that really, we'll cap it off here with this cash level sensitivity, just kind of hypothetical as we talk about staying in the market. There's a few other slides that we can get into, but from a high level, that's what we're doing as far as the proposals. Again, you're scanning the PDF. You're going to put that document right into Koyfin so that we can show that side by side with the updated LSA portfolio that they have put into the tool that they can share directly to your Koyfin account.
And so this is really pillar one, right? And there's a number of different flavors to how we can solve for that pillar one, which is growth. But the bottom line is the data and the analytics here give you a pathway to be able to upload prospective client portfolios, 401ks, institutional opportunities. Really, the depth of what you can go compete for from a business perspective is unlimited, as the tool will be able to support a number of different reviews that would range from the real institutional channel all the way down to more of the retail, and hopefully help you grow business. And again, what I'll share with you is over time, the more that you can educate an investor on the reality of the portfolios, the better the relationship seems to be for those advisors over time. And that's where I think this is really the hook of what the LSA and Koyfin relationship looks like. But then it leads into pillar number 2, which in our next slide, it talks about maintain and monitor your business. And so this is the idea that you can now go to your custodial platforms. You can bring in actual portfolios into the system, so we can start to get a consistency in terms of not only how are we setting up the presentation for how we're trying to win business, but once you win the business, how are you going to continue to communicate on that in a like-minded view and fashion? Matt did a great job of walking through some of the tools that were available, and he highlighted the idea of drawdown. Well, how do you actually show the drawdown impact when you're going through an actual market event? Do you show it in one lens on one side and you sell on it, and then you get into the actual market event and you don't have anything to talk about it? Or do you bring that account in through your custodial relationships and be able to have a like-minded conversation that aligns completely with what you just talked about? So, Matt, give us some additional insights on the ability to use these custodial integrations and best practices that you're seeing from advisors.
Yeah, each of those things that we just went through in the proposal, you're also going to be able to do for your current clients. So show them what the drawdown scenarios will look like. Show them what the risk metrics are that are related to them. And so I talk to a number of advisors every week who what they do is they'll use our one-page report, and that looks something like this. And this is just what we talked about just a moment ago onto one page essentially. But this is also going to help them to continue to educate their clients the risk metrics that are associated with their portfolio, so that if turbulent markets hit, they are educated, they are prepared, and they understand what it's going to take to reach their financial goals with this financial plan that you're putting together and you're giving them advice on. So continuing to put this in front of them and remind them and educate them is super helpful. And so we can do that with a one pager that's a little bit more simple than that last report.
And again, it gets us one step closer to this kind of point-to-point reporting. That is not the way that our reports on the LSA website are set up. Ours are really built to track and monitor a model. It's used to help investment policy committees make sure that they're documenting and keeping good line of sight on the underlying positions as well as the overall models that they're recommending. So having a partner like Koyfin, one, help win and grow your book of business, but two, once you have that business, the ability to be able to monitor that effectively will help advisors and really interpret what matters and ignore what doesn't. So, jumping into the next stage here, when we think about this kind of ongoing portfolio oversight, for us, it's always been a struggle because we load our numbers once a month, right? It's the idea that you're constantly in this waiting period for what's the next update that LSA is pushing out so that we can, make sure that we're checking the boxes that our positions are doing right. It doesn't mean that we don't have tools that track on a daily basis. Doesn't mean that we have some really cool things that we can do in LSA. But from the client perspective, advisors can use the platform to conduct real periodic portfolio checkups. They can prepare efficiently for review meetings. They can identify risks before clients feel them. So if you're starting to feel some market turmoil or pressure, we can drill down into the account and we can show, market impact on a day-to-day or a week-to-week kind of market movement. We can start leaning in on educating the clients on the impact of portfolio risk. And again, I talked about this earlier, but the idea that if you're using a proposal system that highlights the effectiveness of drawdown and drawdown being a real role of how you think about risk management for a client, if you educate them on it, you better be able to show them that you can demonstrate the ability to monitor and track that properly. I'm not saying that you have to be able to, eliminate the risks that are out there, but you need to be able to communicate and make sure that they are educated properly. So this supports this kind of proactive service rather than this reactive explanations. And what I find more and more is that, advisors, we get stuck in this world of trying to maintain our book of business, but it's this idea that as you grow your book, you add new clients, you get them set into a portfolio, and then they kind of sit in the background, and you're saying, well, have I communicated with them effectively yet? Have I helped them track their portfolios as responsibly as I could have? And again, I think this gives us an additional line of sight and access to tools and reports that allow us to do that in a more meaningful way. And I thought Matt did a good job of showing you what a one-page insight looks like. So let's move on to pillar 3, unless I'm missing anything. Anything you want to just throw in there?
No, I think that's perfect. Continuing to educate them, continue to stay proactive as well with that live market data that we're going to provide you.
Yeah, and I think that's a good segue into pillar 3, improve client communication. So communicate with confidence in any market environments. LSA and Koyfin are working together to pre-build some market and economic commentary templates. The idea is this. You as an advisor have access to an incredible amount of resources, data, charting. Heck, you can go Google or Chat GPT, all kinds of information that comes out of it. How convicted are you in the results that you're pulling out just randomly from the internet? How is there a process behind how you're consolidating your overall thoughts or opinions on markets, or how do you generate this kind of general market thesis that helps guide the way that you think about portfolios on the year? What we're trying to do is say there's certain data points that advisors need to be aware of, need to be educated on, need to be up to speed with, and be able to talk about clearly with clients. Maybe that's a weekly for some advisors that like to stay a little bit more engaged. Maybe it's a monthly update that advisors are providing. Maybe it's a quarterly or every 6 months, or maybe it's a once a year outlook. These are all tools and templates that LSA is working within the Koyfin framework to help provide some ongoing narratives that advisors can tap into to help them communicate most effectively with their clients. And maybe one, aside from the AI ability to load a statement and save all of that time, this is maybe what my next second most exciting piece here, because I think it's going to allow advisors to become much more effective in their day-to-day conversations with clients. So Matt, talk to us a little bit about the power of what Koyfin can do in this capacity.
Yeah, so I'll just go ahead and I'll pull up the tool here. And so, for instance, I was looking at just a bit ago, maybe the change in CPI year over year. And so it's pretty simple just to create a quick graph here. I can show this year over year, and this is going to help me to be able to create some narratives or just some stories, I should say, to bring into those client meetings. I can add text, I can add different arrows and things to point certain things out. But when you partner with LSA, you'll have those pre-built for you, to your point. And then as clients have questions, you'll have the freedom, the autonomy to be able to do that research yourself as well and dig a little bit deeper. So this would be another just a great example. And then you can share this out, put this into maybe your own podcast if you're doing that, any type of marketing that you're doing, and share that information that way as well.
Yeah. So clients don't want more charts; they want more understanding, right? They want templates to help them explain what's actually happening in markets, why portfolios are positioned the way that they are, how behavior impacts long-term outcomes. This is what is going to help elevate the advisor and the communications that they have with their clients and prospects as you're trying to grow your book of business. Set yourself apart from the competition. Everyone else out there has a line of sight on these same charts. Are you able to interpret these in a more meaningful way to create separation with your clients and your relationships that you are dealing with? That's the power of taking a platform like Koyfin and this institutional data in partnering with like an LSA to kind of harness the power of that data in real world applications. And that's where we get excited about what this partnership looks like. So let's talk about this, because Matt, there's a pretty unique opportunity that's out there, and there's a free access versus a subscription level, and I'm sure everybody listening to this is saying, okay, well, how much is it, and what do I need to do next? But
Yeah.
really, part of our conversation, it started with this idea that we can give a line of sight to certain tools within your platform for free. So let's talk about the free versus the subscription.
Yeah, so for all LSA clients, what we're doing is we actually already have a free version of Koyfin, and that's going to include just some very basic research and market data to keep you updated on what's going on, and a ton of people will use that. But what we've added specifically for those LSA clients is the insights to the models that you guys are building. So that's something that's unique to your clients. And that's completely complimentary for them to access that.
Yeah, and I will say it's going to be a limited access, meaning our variable annuity models will not be on there yet, but we're in talks with what that looks like down the road. We're probably not going to launch the full suite of all of our mutual fund ETF models, but the ones that are most frequently used within our network. And that was pretty neat. Like you can go to Koyfin on your own and go sign up for your free trial. It's not going to turn on LSA models for you. If you're an LSA user and you want to dig into a little bit of analytics and access that you have through a free version of Koyfin, you need to make sure that you're giving us a call and working through Matt so that we can get you set up on that free version.
Yep, definitely. And then, if that is working and serving you well and great, but if you're looking to continue to make some impacts in your business, like we talked about with those 3 different pillars, that would be when the subscription would come into play, and we would come up with something that's bespoke to your team related to the rest of the market. And that's going to help you to do a variety of things. Do you want to go ahead and cover those?
Go for it.
So what that will be is deeper portfolio analytics, which means that you have more insights into what's going on in portfolios, but also your current clients. And then being able to connect, like we were talking about, those custodians, so that you can look at those clients, the risks, the exposures that are related to their portfolios, and continue to educate them that way. You're also going to have that PDF scanner when it comes to proposals. So you can pull that in, save some time, and then create those custom advanced reports so that you can win more business ideally and be able to build more credibility, explain your story to those prospects. So just a few more things that would be involved with that. And again, that would be all through an LSA specific plan that we would set up for you. All the models that Brad and Ryan choose to put in there will be available to those LSA clients. And then we will set up a bespoke plan for you to be able to access it that way.
Yeah, fantastic. What I'll tell you is the purpose of this whole video is to introduce kind of the subscription level unlock, right? It's the idea of showing you the value proposition of moving to that next stage. And here's the challenge that I'm going to throw out to our advisor network. Let's start with this, Matt. What's the cost of the subscription platform for those that want to step into it?
Yeah, so for one username to get into the tool for one person, it's $3,588 is what it comes out to. It's $299 a month subscription, so it's an annual contract that we would get into. And typically, that's not going to connect to any other third party like we are with LSA and be able to pull those in. But again, we're going to build that for you.
Yeah. So at $3,500, and I know I'm rounding down here, but at $3,500, here's my challenge. If you're an advisor sitting here going, well, do I really need this tool? When you come across an opportunity in your practice in the next couple of months, I want you to think about us. As you sign up for your free trial with Koyfin, go get engaged with the platform, start looking around. And as you have a prospective opportunity, a prospective client that is coming into your door, and a portfolio analysis or review would be meaningful to you, and let's just say, let's target a portfolio review that is maybe $350,000 account or more. Why? Because at $350,000 at a 1% rate, you've now offset your entire year of what it costs for a subscription into Koyfin. And what we want to do is we want to help you validate that $3,500 a year is absolutely worth it. And the best way that I can help you validate this is if you actually have a case, and we can help you win that case with the analytics and the stories that we put together. Then I would argue you have a pretty strong opportunity to move forward and utilize the depths of what this research and analytics. And don't stop there. Don't use it as a, hey, let's go validate and sign up. Let's use it as a stepping stone for an opportunity to make 2026 a real growing opportunity for your book of business. That's what we want to do, and it's what we get excited about. Our portfolios are out there and designed to help keep you effective and competitive in the space, and the analytics will help us communicate and share that story out there. So that's my challenge to everyone out there, and I hope you'll take us up on it. At the very least, go sign up for your free trial so that you can go in and get a line of sight to Koyfin and start looking around the tool. And again, when you get an opportunity, please reach out. We want to and accept our challenge. We'd love to go help you win that business and show the value of what this tool can do net long term. So let's jump into kind of the tail end of this presentation here. How advisors use this weekly? Well, advisors in the LSA framework use Koyfin to prepare for prospective client meetings, monitor portfolio risk and allocations, create timely, consistent client communications. This is not a one-off tool. Okay, if you're looking for just a one-off solution that is the here and gone, this is not for you. It is for somebody that wants this to the tool and the data to become a part of your weekly and daily workflow. The idea that you are going to be logging into this because it helps you, one, stay on top of markets and communications, helps you grow your book of business, helps you maintain relationships. That is the advisor that is going to work best with this tool. If you're somebody that's just going to come in here and say, wow, this is really cool, shiny tool, that I use it for a minute and then hop off, this isn't the platform for you. So again, know that there's a lot of depth to what this tool can bring, but make sure that you're in the right mindset to step in there and really take the effective journey with it so that you can get the most out of it. Why this matters? Well, again, I can't stress this enough, and I know I've said it a few times, but markets are more complex today than they've ever been, and clients are more informed today than they've ever been, and leading to a tremendous amount of anxiety. So advisors are expected to deliver clarity, not just continue to build on all the noise that's out there. The LSA Koyfin partnership is designed for this environment. It's the idea that we're going to take back the calmness, the calm and the chaos of all this data that's available out there, and make sure that we're as effectively as possible creating meaningful relationships that's rooted in good data and good decisions. So we've talked about getting started. Advisors can activate free access in a Koyfin platform, attend an LSA-led training and demos. We'll continue to build out that library, upgrade and when ready to scale, unlock exposures to the LSA curated workflows. The goal is adoption first, efficiency and growth follow. right? I'm not asking you to jump on board with the subscription today. I'm asking you to trust in the process, go take a look at the platform, and allow the workflows do a little bit of the work to show how we can grow within the relationship as we go forward. Because the LSA difference is not just introducing a tool, it's we're providing, again, an experience. And that experience, I believe, is what will help create a more effective partnership that reflects how advisors today need to be able to communicate effectively with their prospects as well as with their existing books of business. So let's conclude here. We can keep going around and round about why Koyfin, why LSA. Hopefully, people can hear the excitement of why around the partnership that we have here. But two, the people that we have brought in. I'm a big fan of finding people that like, and trust, and we're very focused on working with good partners as we go forward with LSA. But Matt, some final words on why Koyfin, and again, thanks again for your time and effort to be here today.
Yeah, definitely. I think that when it comes down to it, I'm talking to advisors every day who maybe they have aggressive growth goals. They're trying to find a way to win more. Or maybe they're just trying to find a way to really deepen those relationships they currently have. And we're doing both of those. We're continuing to pour into these advisors and help them just nurture their business. And so if we want to be able to set something up and just try this out for free in the complimentary access, happy to do that. And I'm also happy to give you like a personal walkthrough and set up some reports for you as well. And so you can reach out to me. My email's not on here, but that's okay. It's just matt.johnson@koyfin.com, or my number's right there. Feel free to give me a call. And then I'll lead that. I'll set up a personal environment for you guys, and I'll help to connect the dots with the LSA portfolios as well, and we can get you started.
That's great. Well, let's kind of leave it there. I appreciate the time, energy, and effort of everyone that you've dedicated to us today to listen to the play. And as always, if you have any questions, just give us a call, 866-581-5724, or you can always email us at support@LSA Portfolios. Matt, his email and contact information will be in the description available within this video. I would point down, but by God, by the time I set this up, who knows where the description is going to exist. So I'm not that great with technology just yet, but somewhere in your purview, you will have access to Matt's email. And if not, give us a call at LSA. We'll make sure that we get you connected. I hope you find the same level of excitement that we're trying to express with you today. And again, I also hope that you see the vision of we're not just trying to bring another tool to the table. We're trying to find a way to bridge a gap that allows all the growth that we've seen in data development and technology that will continue to support the LSA portfolios and platform in a meaningful way as we go forward. So I'm going to close with that. Matt, again, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
We will do this again. Right. And maybe we'll do some that are a little bit more off script so that we can just get into some real life examples and have some fun with it. How about that?
Sounds great.
Awesome. All right, everyone. Well, let's end with this. The takeaway today is simple. Start with the free access, get with the platform, apply the workflows that make sense for your practice. And if over time you find that it's helpful to save time, win business, and improve client conversations, the paid options are there to help you scale. This partnership isn't about adding another tool to your stack. It's about helping you move from data to decisions with more clarity, more confidence, and more consistency. We're excited to support you however you choose to use it. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll look forward to talking to everybody soon. Matt, thank you, buddy.
Thanks.